Hello, Sophie Ash here, and I'm the founder of Prospology. Now, one of the things that we help a lot of our students do is write professional bios for branding purposes. So I'm just going to take you through an example of just a portion of part of somebody's bio so that you can see the evolution and kind of understand my thought process behind all of the work that has gone into it. And so this is just the first paragraph. This is version 1 of what they originally wrote. So we have, I'm a freelance medical writer specializing in mental health, psychology, and anxiety issues. I'm passionate about supporting patients and healthcare professionals in addressing mental health issues using the latest therapies and medications. I understand the impact of mental health issues on job performance in competitive work environments, as well as in one's personal life. So there are a lot of facts here. The person is just telling you, I am this, I am that, I understand this, I know that, but we're not actually getting to know them as a person. We don't know that what they're saying is actually true. We don't get a sense of their personality. We don't really trust them yet. And it's quite generic because a lot of people could have said this exact same thing. So now let's look at the second version and see what happened here in terms of development. Demands of everyday life and competitive work environments often negatively impact quality of life and job performance for many people. I came to realize how long anxiety had been holding me back. One evening I reached out for mental health support through our employee assistance program. This expanded my awareness of the kinds of available support and enabled me to make changes I did not know were possible. That is the power of medical education. So a lot more personality is coming in at this point, and I really like how in the first sentence the person is showing that they actually have an understanding of the mental health struggles that people face. And anxiety is sort of positioned as something that was realized a bit further down the line, or like in their own experience. We also have a little bit of a story of something that happened, reaching out for support through an employee assistance program, which expanded their awareness and made them realize that medical education is powerful. So some of their beliefs are coming through, some of their own personal experiences coming through a bit more indirectly, but it's more from an authoritative place in that they've experienced things, they've been there, they've done that, they've had interactions with people, and they have, been a patient themselves in the process of overcoming their own anxiety. So a lot of progress has been made between level or version 1 and version 2. Now let's look at version 3. Late in the evening in the downtown office, I'm balancing multiple projects. In the morning, I will be leading a 4-hour meeting with the client, medical practice owner, advisors, and colleagues. While preparing for the meeting, I'm also thinking ahead to other pending responsibilities and deadlines and the need to maintain my high-quality standards on each project. I realize that anxiety is holding me back, and I begin reaching out for assistance. So this is a lot better than the previous versions to me, because there's actually a visual of something that has happened in this person's life, and they're touching on some really important points. One is that they have had a lot of responsibilities in their previous role, doing things that relate to the kind of work that they're going to be doing now. Another one is that they have the first-hand understanding of the anxiety, but we don't need to be so on the nose with saying that because it's coming through in the story. And it's just sort of painting a picture of who they actually are. And I really like that the high standards is coming through as a very evidenced point. It's not just something that they're saying. It's clearly true because of the nature of the story that they're telling. I also like how the story ends with sort of like a realization or a conclusion of sorts. And so the structure is much better. Similar to how, there was a realization here. I think that part of it works quite well. And then this is the rewrite that I just did of the first paragraph. So I'll keep versions 3 and 4 next to each other here. It's 9 p.m. and I'm stuck at the office, juggling multiple projects that require immense focus. I still have a 1 hour commute ahead of me, 59 minutes of which will consist of me worrying about impending deadlines. It all starts again tomorrow, bright and early. I'll be leading a 4 hour meeting with clients, colleagues, and key stakeholders. Ironically, relentless anxiety is preventing me from meeting the high standards I pride myself on, which is feeding into my anxiety. I need to get help. So I think that this is much stronger for a number of reasons. One, because, let me go through my comments here. This part of the sentence is touching on the perfectionism that this person has. And so we're not just saying that they're balancing multiple projects, because that might imply that they aren't able to balance multiple projects now, which is something that they might need to do as a freelancer. So by adding in this extra part here that require immense focus, what we're doing is we're communicating very clearly that it's because they have too much on their plate and not because they cannot actually cope with, doing multiple projects at the same time. So the context really helps. Another thing that I think helps with the rewrite is the specificity. We have 9 p.m., we have 1 hour commute, and we have 4 hour meeting. And so getting very specific with times, locations, details of events that directly relate to what you're trying to communicate is a strong way to get your point across. And so, depending on what the numbers are, those can be switched out. But you can see that it's much more dramatic and it's much more believable because you immediately have a visual of someone who's working late, juggling a lot of things, being anxious the whole way home, and then having to do it all over again. So you can immediately get a sense of this cycle that keeps happening. The bright and early was some phrasing that I added in, again, just to kind of paint a more accurate or a more detailed visual of what was happening, because before it was just in the morning I will be leading a 4 hour meeting, whereas here it all starts again tomorrow bright and early. It's emphasizing the fact that this is a cycle that this person is stuck in, and it contrasts really well with the 9 p.m. because they haven't gone home yet, they still have to do the commute, and then they're going to start again early. So it's more of a storytelling component, but we're not actually increasing the length of the paragraph much at all. And then here I've just kind of made this more concise. So before we had the client, medical practice owners, advisors, and colleagues. So it's not very easy to read. It doesn't flow very well. It's just kind of a bit too factual to be a good story. So what I've done is I've consolidated it to be clients, colleagues, and key stakeholders, because this directly applies to the kind of stuff that freelance medical writers would do. They wouldn't have colleagues, but that doesn't matter because we're referring to something that happened in the past. Okay, and then this last part, I thought that it would help strengthen the communication a lot to refer to this vicious cycle that is happening, where the anxiety is preventing this person from meeting the high standards that they hold themselves to, but then not being able to meet their standards is making them even more anxious, and therefore everything is cycling. And so I think that it reads much stronger than just, I realize that anxiety is holding me back. Because in this version, we don't actually know why they realize it. That is not apparent. It hasn't been explained. Whereas by the time we get here, we do have a pretty good sense that they're anxious by now. But by adding in this part about the vicious cycle, we're taking it to the next level, and we're just making sure that they know not just that they're anxious, but that they're stuck in this cycle. I also added in this phrasing of I pride myself on, because it's really important that we're still portraying ourselves in a positive light, even when we're talking about weaknesses or difficulties that we've had in the past, because we all get stronger and develop as a result of the things that we overcome in our past. And so I think it's really important to make sure that when you're presenting something that may be seen as a limitation or a weakness, that you're countering it by saying, actually, this is a positive trait that I have, and I'm proud of that. But when it's combined with this cycle of having too much to do, being too anxious, being perfectionistic, then it becomes a problem. And so I think that was a good addition. And then lastly, the last sentence is very, very short and a lot more impactful than this. I realize anxiety is holding me back and I begin reaching out for assistance. I need to get help. And adding it after the ellipses also really helps to kind of put a stamp in there at the end. Just make it more dramatic. It makes it more engaging. It makes people want to read what is going to happen next. They want to know, how does the story end? What happens? And so you don't need to actually say that you're reaching out for assistance or that you are getting employee assistance or doing an employee assistance program, because that is implied in the sentence here. So what I think we've done is we've strengthened the storytelling aspects of the bios. We have brought through a lot of personality of this person. We've emphasized some of the specific things that relate to their niche, their specialty area, which is mental health and anxiety. We've shown that they also have experience of managing anxiety themselves. They have an understanding of this issue on a personal level, and they're able to get out of it, which is what comes next. So naturally, when there's a pause between the first and the second paragraph, you're then going to get into, what happened a few years later, where were they at then? So you get to see kind of the stages or the milestones of development of the person, and you learn so much more about them in about the same amount of words as you do in this original version. So I hope you found this helpful if you're working on developing some new bios for yourself. I'm a strong believer that storytelling really helps to connect with potential clients and help people stand out in the field. And so if you would like any assistance with working on your branding or your marketing for your freelance medical writing business, you're welcome to check out the resources on our website, prospology.com, and also apply to join the waitlist of our business coaching program, which is called the Thriving and Free Medical Writer Program. Thank you.